Robert, what's happening? You're selling our house without even telling me. I didn't want to bother you. You've been stressed with work. Seriously. I've been paying the mortgage for 5 years, and you didn't even ask if I wanted to sell. I thought it was time to move on. We could use the money for other things. Move on. This is our home. We built our life here. How can you just sell it without my consent? I have a say in this too. Laura, what do you really know about real estate? Let me handle it. I know what's best for us. That's not true. I've been paying the mortgage for years. Something's going on, and you're not being honest. You're acting crazy. After all these years, you can't even trust my decisions. Are you insulting me? What? No, that's not what I meant. Don't turn this around on me. You just what? Know your place. Don't test me. I'm Laura, in my late 40s. A few years ago, I made a decision that changed everything. I'd been married to Robert for 25 years, and we had a son and a daughter together. Our kids had grown up and moved out. We had always dreamed of traveling the world. About 5 years ago, our youngest moved out, and it seemed like the perfect time to start our journey. But Robert had already changed his mind. He didn't want to travel anymore. He just wanted to move back to the countryside and live a quiet life. I was disappointed, but I wanted to make him happy. We found a beautiful house in a small town, surrounded by lush fields and rolling hills. It had plenty of space for our hobbies and a big garden for growing vegetables. Though there was a lot of renovation needed, I took on the responsibility since Robert wasn't interested. I wanted to create a space that reflected both of us and the life we'd built together. I spent hours on plans, choosing finishes, and picking out furniture. But things didn't always go smoothly. I realized at one point that I'd gone over budget. It was a mistake I regretted, but I knew I had to make it right. I took out a loan and worked hard to pay it off. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to create the home we wanted. During this time, Robert's health began to decline. He wanted to retire early and focus on getting better, so I became the primary breadwinner. It was challenging, but I was happy to support us. As I took on more work, Robert seemed to pull away. He became distant, leaving me confused and unsure of what was happening. I initially thought it was due to the changes in our lives, but as time passed, his behavior only grew worse. It felt like I was living with a stranger. We'd faced challenges before, and I always believed our love would carry us through. I never questioned his loyalty or commitment, but soon, things changed. I noticed Robert had become suspiciously close to our neighbor, Heather. She was a widow in her 40s who had recently moved in nearby. I was overwhelmed with mixed emotions, struggling to understand this unexpected shift in his behavior. And that wasn't the only secret he was hiding. One day, I came home early and found Mr. Anderson in our garden, taking pictures to advertise it. I was shocked to learn that Robert was trying to sell our house without telling me. This news devastated me. I was still working hard to pay off the loan, and he was already planning to sell. I knew I had to confront him, even though it was difficult. Robert, what's going on? You're selling our house without even telling me. I didn't want to bother you. You've had enough on your plate with work. Are you serious? I've been paying the mortgage for years, and you didn't even ask if I wanted to sell. I thought it was time to move on. We could use the money for other things. Move on. This is our home. We built our life here. How can you sell it without asking me? I have a say in this too. Laura, what do you really know about real estate? Let me handle it. I know what's best for us. That's not true. I've been paying the mortgage for years. Something's going on, and you're not being honest. You're acting crazy. After all these years, you still can't trust my decisions. Are you trying to insult me? What? No, that's not what I meant. Don't turn this around on me. You just what? Know your place. Don't test me. At that moment, I felt like Robert could get violent at any second. I was scared. The man standing in front of me didn't seem like the one I fell in love with years ago. I knew something was terribly wrong. I acted quickly, contacting the real estate agents to stop the sale and getting the potential buyers' details. I was shocked when I found out the buyers were Heather's son and his wife. My worst fears were confirmed. Robert was betraying me, and divorce seemed inevitable. I realized I couldn't trust him anymore. It hurt, but I knew I had to stand up for myself. I began preparing for the changes ahead. Robert noticed my shift in attitude. Sensing I might want a divorce, he made it clear that if we separated, he would demand half the house's value, even though I was the one who had worked hard to pay for it. The weeks that followed were the worst of my life. I couldn't quit my job, but I was so stressed that I couldn't focus at work. Heather's boldness made things worse. She showed up at my house with her son and daughter-in-law, acting as if it was already theirs. I was shocked by their audacity and couldn't believe they thought they could take what wasn't theirs. Heather and Robert acted as if no one knew about their affair. They thought they were succeeding in breaking me down and forcing me out, but I wasn't backing off so easily. They didn't realize that while they were basking in their so-called victory, I was planning my future without Robert. My son, Johnny, is a good lawyer, and I knew I could count on him, so I told him everything. Despite the heartache, Johnny tirelessly gathered evidence of Robert's affair with Heather. They were so reckless they didn't even try to cover their tracks. In just a few weeks, Johnny had photos of Robert and Heather meeting up at restaurants, parks, Heather's place, and even her son's place. Looking at the heartbreaking evidence, I felt utterly devastated and lost. Luckily, John stayed strong and provided unwavering support. He helped with all the legal paperwork and even broke the news to his sister, despite how hard it was for him. It was comforting to see how close they were. My daughter was in shock, but she remained compassionate and supportive. She would call to check on me, and we'd have heartfelt conversations to help each other through this tough time. I'm grateful my kids grew up to be responsible and reliable, unlike their father, who had been unreliable his entire life. With everything in place, I was ready to make the big move. I decided to file for divorce and even sue him for all the pain he caused. When Robert found out, he was enraged. How could you do this to me? Do what? Turn against me? What were you thinking? No, Robert, I have to ask you that question. What question? How could you do this to me? What the hell are you talking about, you wicked witch? You know exactly what I'm talking about. How could you drag our son into this? You've ruined our family. You've ruined this for me. No, Robert, you've ruined our family. You've ruined it for yourself. See you in court. And just like that, I moved out. I walked away and didn't look back. I couldn't spend another minute next to that horrible human being. It pained me to leave the house I'd worked so hard on, but it was the right thing to do. That house was Robert's dream, not mine. Luckily, John stayed strong and provided unwavering support. He helped with all the legal paperwork and even broke the news to his sister, despite how hard it was for him. It was comforting to see how close they were. My daughter was in shock, but she remained compassionate and supportive. She would call to check on me, and we'd have heartfelt conversations to help each other through this tough time. I'm grateful my kids grew up to be responsible and reliable, unlike their father, who had been unreliable his entire life. With everything in place, I was ready to make the big move. I decided to file for divorce and even sue him for all the pain he caused. When Robert found out, he was enraged. How could you do this to me? Do what? Turn against me? What were you thinking? No, Robert, I have to ask you that question. What question? How could you do this to me? What the hell are you talking about, you wicked witch? You know exactly what I'm talking about. How could you drag our son into this? You've ruined our family. You've ruined this for me. No, Robert, you've ruined our family. You've ruined it for yourself. See you in court. And just like that, I moved out. I walked away and didn't look back. I couldn't spend another minute next to that horrible human being. It pained me to leave the house I'd worked so hard on, but it was the right thing to do. That house was Robert's dream, not mine. Worse yet, my husband was exposed and humiliated in front of our children. With Heather and her kids gone, he apologized and begged for forgiveness, but I decided I would never see him again. The thought of spending the rest of my life alone was daunting, but I knew I could find contentment and happiness without him. After much thought, I made the life-changing decision to spend the rest of my 40s traveling the world, fulfilling the dreams I had as a young adult. I bought a backpack, gathered some money, grabbed my passport, and sold the house. I left my job and set off. Since then, I've traveled to 27 countries and made countless meaningful connections with fellow travelers. This year, I bought a beautiful house in Hawaii as my home base. It's where I host gatherings for my extended family, new friends on the island, and even tourists who pass by. I realized that losing someone like Robert was what I needed to truly live my best life. I'm happier than I've ever been, and I'm proud of how far I've come.
Hello, my name's Val, and I'm 34 years old. My mom passed away when I was just 5 years old. My dad raised me by himself for the next 7 years. When I was about 11, he told me he was seeing someone. As a child, I didn't really care much about it. When I turned 12, Dad introduced me to his girlfriend and announced they were going to get married soon. My first thought was that she seemed really young. Her name was Jody, and I later found out she was only 10 years older than me. I remember being a bit freaked out by the small age gap between us, but eventually I stopped caring about it. Jody and I didn't have the best relationship. She was overbearing and kept trying to be my mother. I tried talking to my dad about it, but he sided with Jody. I didn't like it, and as soon as I turned 18, I moved out. Even after moving out, I maintained a good relationship with my dad. We would go out for lunch every other weekend. Initially, Dad tried to involve Jody in my life, but when he saw I wasn't budging, he dropped it. However, he often talked about how much he loved Jody, hoping I would come around because she meant so much to him. I was doing well in my life. I managed to get a job at a reputable firm right out of college. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck either. I was comfortable and had started saving early on. In a couple of years, I was doing amazingly well. When I was 28, my dad got into a freak accident and passed away. His death was devastating. The only family member I had was gone. I was a mess, crying myself to sleep every night and barely functioning during the day. I was lucky enough to get a week off work to grieve. Despite my feelings about Jody, I knew she loved my dad, so I made sure to check on her regularly. The first time I visited her after Dad's death, she seemed normal. I didn't expect her to be in mourning clothes, but I thought she'd look a little worse for wear. I knew I looked awful. Puffy eyes, dark circles, red nose, and splotchy skin from crying. Jody, on the other hand, looked completely fine. I know this sounds judgmental, but I hope to feel like I wasn't the only one grieving so deeply for the man who was my world. However, my suspicions faded when she started crying as we talked about Dad. After that first visit, I started visiting Jody more often. We would have tea and talk about everything we were feeling. I thought we were finally starting to develop a connection. I was tired of her trying to replace my mother, so it was nice to talk to her as just herself. One day, while we were talking, Jody suddenly burst into tears. Alarmed, I went over to her to let her cry on my shoulder. When she calmed down a bit, I asked her what was wrong. "Is everything okay? What's wrong?" "I just got a letter from the bank," she said. "Oh, what did they say?" "You know how I've been super busy taking care of your dad these past few months, along with all the medical expenses." "Yeah." "Well, I haven't had much money to pay off our mortgage, which has now transferred to me. I don't even have a job. I'm going to be homeless." "Oh no, is that what the bank told you?" "Yeah, they've given me 4 months to pay off all my dues, along with the 4 months mortgage payments. I don't have that kind of money. Your dad didn't leave me much." "I know it's okay." "No, it's not okay. Calm down, Jody. I have some money in my savings. I can help you out." "Really? You'd do that for me?" "Yeah, of course. You've become someone I understand recently, and I value you a lot. Plus, Dad would have been happy with me for doing this for you. Thank you so much, Val. If I do help you with your payments, I have 2 conditions. Yeah, I can't rent a place and pay your mortgage. I'll need to move in. Of course, honey, this house is yours too. Great. Secondly, I can't keep paying off your mortgage forever. You need to find a job soon and start taking care of it. I can contribute half, but you'll need to find a job and over time pay me back. I promise I will. I felt sympathetic towards Jody. Going from being financially stable to desolate is a big and scary change. I couldn't imagine the anxiety Jody must have been feeling, but I had a good amount in my savings. If there was one thing my dad taught me, it was to always have a financial cushion because you never know when hard times will come. Over the next week, I contacted Jody's bank and started working on the mortgage repayments to stop the foreclosure. She hadn't paid the mortgage in 4 months, so there were late fees and pre-foreclosure fees, totaling about $112,000. I had enough in my savings to cover it, but it made a significant dent. Jody was extremely grateful that I managed to prevent the foreclosure. She went all out and prepared a feast to thank me. It was refreshing to see her gratitude since the Jody I knew before would have acted a little entitled to my help. I reminded her that she needed to start job hunting soon, and she promised she had already started looking. I moved in with Jody, and it was interesting to live with her again. Jody was more demanding than I remembered, insisting the house be spotless. While she tried to apply the same standard to my room, I made it clear that my room was my space and I liked it as it was. She relented, probably recognizing that the house she was being demanding about was only hers because of my help. We had occasional spats, but for the most part, it was good living with her. Slowly but surely, weeks turned into months and then into years. After a year, I grew frustrated with Jody for not finding a job. She kept saying she was searching, but I never saw any results. I didn't even hear her mention having an interview. I confronted her about it, and she got very defensive. Jody, I don't mean to be harsh, but when are you going to get a job? Do you think I'm not trying? No, that's not what I meant. It's just been a year since you promised, and I need to know how much longer I have to keep paying the mortgage. I don't know when it will happen, okay. Have you had any interviews so far? No, but I haven't been getting any responses. How about applying for a part-time job at least? No way. I'm trying to help you out here. I can't keep paying your mortgage, Jody. If it's such a hassle for you, then don't do it. I'll just be homeless. I'm sure your dad would have been happy to see me struggling like that. No, it's okay. I'll keep paying, but I can't do this forever. Yeah, and I'll find a job. Just give me some time. It didn't click at that time, but using my dad to appeal to me was kind of messed up. I kept paying off the mortgage for a while after that. Jody became more overbearing, getting annoyed about when I got home and who I hung out with during weekends. It irked me, but I initially kept quiet. When she got out of hand, I stood up for myself. She would quiet down but would go weeks without talking to me properly, and I felt a growing dislike from her, reminiscent of how she was when my dad was alive. Despite this, I continued helping her. After another year, I decided to put my foot down. I never saw Jody make an effort to start working. One day, when she was out, I went through her emails on her laptop that she had left unlocked. I discovered that in the past 2 years, she had only applied to one firm, and that was right after I agreed to help her with the mortgage. I was angry and disgusted by her ability to lie to me after I had been so accommodating. When she came home that night, I told her I was no longer going to help her out. Needless to say, Jody did not take that well. How can you do this to me? I've given you 2 years to figure things out. You've refused every piece of advice I've given you and haven't made any effort to get your life together. You really think I haven't been making any effort? Jody, I know you aren't making any effort. You're just making false accusations. All right, then why don't you show me all the places you've applied to this year? That's an invasion of my privacy. Look, I'm glad we've been able to develop a good relationship over the past few years, and I'm happy I could help you out. But I need to start looking out for my future. I never wanted to own a house, and I hate that I'm stuck paying for something that was never part of my plan. Oh God, what am I going to do? Jody sobbed for a long time, and though it got to me, I left her there that night because I was still angry with her. I decided to do some research to help Jody out. I knew I couldn't keep providing for her, so if there was any way she could keep herself afloat, I wanted to help her find it. The next day, Jody refused to talk to me, but I asked if she would just listen. I suggested she file for bankruptcy to get an extension on the loan payments and possibly get a break from paying it for about 5 years. Jody finally acknowledged me and asked if I could help her with the paperwork. Of course I agreed, and we spent the next few weeks getting everything approved. Once Jody was free of her mortgage payments for the next 5 years, I reminded her that she still needed to get back on her feet. Coldly, she told me she had things under control and asked me to move on. That hurt, but I guess that's what happens when you stop letting someone use you. I moved out within the next month and got my finances back on track. About 2 years later, I got a promotion at work, which allowed me to save more money and make some big investments. Jody and I barely kept in contact. She didn't make any effort to reach out, but I tried because at the end of the day, she was my dad's wife and he loved her dearly. I would ask how she was doing and if she had managed to find a job. She always spoke coldly and told me to mind my business. Initially upset by her behavior, I eventually let it go. My life was going well until about 5 months after Jody's bankruptcy period ended when she showed up at my door. I was surprised, having not spoken to her for months. I had an inkling about what she wanted and prepared myself to stand my ground and tell her I wasn't going to help her again. When I saw her, she looked like an absolute mess, her hair disheveled, having lost a lot of weight and looking like she hadn't slept in months. "Things look really rough for you. Is everything okay?" I asked. "No, I'm struggling a lot." "I'm so sorry to hear that." "Yeah, after you left, I went into a spiral. At least when you were there, I wasn't completely alone, but after you left, I realized just how alone I was. I tried to reach out to you, but you always pushed me away." "I know, and I'm so sorry for that. I didn't mean to push you away and be so hurtful. I was just angry with a lot of things." "Like what?" "I was angry with myself for being so alone. I was angry with your dad for leaving me alone, and I was angry that I was struggling so much." "I get that. It's been 5 years, and I still haven't been able to find a job. I've been so depressed. I've nearly exhausted all the money your dad left me, and my family is cutting off their help." I tried to explain how I've been feeling, but they simply won't understand. In fact, they won't even listen to me. "Oh, Jody, I didn't know you were struggling this much. I hate constantly coming back to you. You've done the most for me, but if there's any way." I was torn. On one hand, I had resolved not to help Jody anymore, but on the other, she was clearly struggling. I knew firsthand what depression could do to someone, and I empathized with her. Before I knew it, I was telling Jody I would help her again. She cried with joy and thanked me profusely. I was happy I could help her, understanding her struggles and not wanting to leave her stranded when she was suffering. The next week, I was back at the bank figuring things out for Jody. It turned out she hadn't made her mortgage payments for 5 months. I wondered why she didn't get her mortgage readjusted to reduce the monthly payments, but I rationalized it by thinking she was suffering too much to think clearly. As I reviewed Jody's mortgage, I realized she only had about $75,000 left to pay off, including late fees, to be completely done with it. With her mortgage now paid off, I had saved enough over the past 5 years to cover the remaining amount. I checked with Jody if she wanted me to pay off her mortgage and allow her to repay me over time. She cried and asked if that was possible. When I confirmed it was, she promised to pay me back. I told her I would get her promise in writing within the next week and then pay her loan off. Somehow, she convinced me to pay her loan first and then make the contract with her. After settling her loan, I went to her place. There was an unfamiliar car in the driveway and the front door was unlocked. Inside, I heard Jody laughing with another man. In the living room, I saw Jody sitting on his lap with her arms around him. This made me feel icky, especially since just a week ago, she had been professing her undying love for my dad. She frequently brought up my dad, likely to emotionally blackmail me into paying off her loan. When Jody noticed me standing there, she laughed and pointed at me while speaking to her partner. "Darling, look, that's the girl I was telling you about. She's the daughter of the man from whom I got this house. I tricked her into paying it off, and now we can live here happily." "What are you talking about?" I asked, shocked. "Oh, don't tell me you're really that stupid. You really think I couldn't get a job? I knew you could, and that's exactly why I stopped paying for you the first time around." "That was an act?" I asked, incredulous. "Of course. Did you even love my dad?" "God, no. I just needed the money because I didn't want to work. I was tired of constantly being tired. So I married an older man with money. Man, I really hoped he'd live longer. You were sick. I can't believe I helped you out for so long. I can't believe my dad fell for you. Do you even know how much he loved you? Yeah, I don't care. Say what you want. At the end of the day, I own a house, and that's all I care about. Plus, I get to live here with my boyfriend. I stormed out of the house, tears streaming down my face. I wanted nothing more than to hurt Jody. How could she do something so vile? I knew I couldn't let her win that easily. I had a plan. Since I was transferring a large amount, my bank was holding the money for a day to give me the opportunity to cancel the transaction. Jody didn't know about this. If she had been smart, she would have waited to reveal her grand scheme. I was grateful for her stupidity. I called my bank and canceled the transaction, then blocked Jody's number and all her social media accounts. I made sure there was no way for her to reach me. I knew it would take her another month or so to realize the mortgage payment wasn't done. Meanwhile, I decided to move as well. I was hurting, but I was glad I could give Jody a taste of her own medicine. From what I found out later, Jody's house to get foreclosed. Mutual friends and connections told me she had been couch surfing for a while. Her boyfriend left her, and she had no income. She tried to badmouth me, but no one sided with her. Many even reached out to check on how I was doing. I felt vindicated, denying her the opportunity to own my dad's house. I've learned never to let anyone use my emotions against me. People can be crappy and will use you if given the chance. I've learned to let go once I've been burned because people rarely change. In a way, I'm grateful for this experience. I will continue to live happily and honor my dad's memory without letting it influence my decisions.
Hi guys, my name's Mina. I'm single now, but I used to be married to a horrible guy named Jack. His parents, Shane and Irina, were just as bad, constantly making me feel unwelcome. To be honest, Jack and I both had good jobs and earned a lot of money, but his parents never acknowledged that. They thought I was a gold digger living off their son, partly because Jack kept saying things like, "Mia is very lucky to marry me. She loves a luxurious life, and she couldn't have that without my help." He even told them I handle most of our finances, which wasn't true. "Oh, Jack, you're so generous," his parents would say. "Any woman would be lucky to have you. Mia, you better take care of him properly. If he leaves you, you'll be left with nothing." "Thank God we made you sign a prenup," they added. "We knew Mia wouldn't amount to anything, so we had to protect our son." Yes, they made me sign a prenup. I don't mind prenups, but what angered me was Jack not discussing it with me beforehand. He always told his parents I earned way less than him and depended on him for everything, so they assumed I was a gold digger. Jack insisted I go along with his lies because he didn't want his family to look down on him if they knew I earned more. I loved Jack and didn't want him to feel humiliated, so I put up with the insults. I was a fool for marrying him. He didn't love or respect me, regularly humiliating me for supposedly earning less and spending all his money. The truth was, he got fired a year ago and was dependent on me. But he didn't want his parents to know. The final straw came when I bought a house. I received an inheritance from a relative and decided to invest it in a house. I found a beautiful one and bought it, putting the title in my name only. Jack protested, but I reminded him he didn't contribute a cent. He wouldn't stop pestering me, though. Things came to a head at a family dinner when his parents brought up the house. "So I heard you two bought a big house. It's truly one of a kind. Did you move in yet?" Shane asked. "Yes, we finalized the deal a month ago," Jack replied. "We're still settling in, but it's nice to have our own place." "So did you buy the house jointly?" Irina asked. "I don't see how your meager salary could afford such a big house, Mia. I guess my son paid most of the money." "No, Mom, you're wrong. I didn't pay most of the money," Jack said. At this point, I expected him to correct them and acknowledge that I paid in full and owned the house. But what he said next blew my mind. "Actually, I paid for the entire house. My job's been going so well that I could save up a lot of money, so I thought I'd buy a house in my name." "I knew it," Shane explained. "My son is so successful, buying a huge house all by himself. I'm so happy for you, Jack. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you, son, Irina added. It must have been a huge feat to buy your own house. You've reached the peak of success. They kept congratulating Jack and ignoring me. I tried to get his attention, but he avoided my gaze. I was furious but held my tongue, not wanting to cause a scene in front of his parents. As soon as we left, I confronted him. What the hell was that, Jack? Why did you tell your parents you bought the house by yourself? You didn't spend a penny on it. Relax, Mia, he said. I told them to make them happy. I don't want them to know I lost my job. They'd be extremely disappointed. What else was I supposed to do? You could have said we went 50-50 on the house, but no, you took all the credit, I replied. I feel humiliated and cheated. This is very unfair. Look, what's done is done. I'm not going back to correct myself, he said. That was the breaking point for me. I would not humiliate myself like that. Who cares what my parents think? Let them be. He had no problem humiliating me, but wouldn't face the truth himself. That day, I realized Jack had completely changed after our marriage. He no longer cared about me or my feelings. He had been mooching off me for the last year and showed no signs of getting a job. I was tired of shouldering all the family expenses, and he even fought with me to put his name on the house title. Somewhere in my mind, I knew he was using me, but I was on the fence about what to do. That was until something drastic happened. The next evening, as I was making myself a snack, I heard the doorbell ring. Curious, I went to see who it was because there was a lot of commotion at the door. Jack hurried downstairs, looking uneasy, and opened the door. To my shock, his parents were there with all their stuff, smiling and laughing with Jack as they brought their things inside. Before I could ask what was going on, they said, Jack, we got all our stuff here. We packed as soon as you told us we could stay. You are the best son ever. We knew we raised you right, Irina added. When you told us to come stay at your new house, I told all my friends what a great son you are. We're so proud of you. I'm glad to make you proud, Mom and Dad, Jack replied. It's nothing, really. You guys were right. You need to stay with us since I bought such a big house with plenty of room for you. My mouth dropped open. In no world did I ever approve of Jack inviting his parents to stay in my house. This charade had gone too far. Still, I didn't want to confront Jack in front of his family. There was no way his parents were living in my house. But I tried to find a way to deal with the situation gently. They continued dreaming out loud about their new living arrangements. Oh, it's so nice to finally live in a big house. We were getting cramped in the old place. I'm so proud of my son for being this successful. This house is magnificent, Irina said. Yeah, and has 4 bedrooms. Imagine that, Irina, Shane added. Oh my God, yes, 4 bedrooms. We'll take the biggest one. It would be a dream come true. Jack, show us the biggest and best room. Why don't you two wait here while I have a chat with Jack? I said. I'm sure he has a lot of explaining to do. Jack looked panicked and avoided my eyes. He knew he was in deep trouble. I was already furious at my in-laws' sudden arrival and their demands for the biggest room. Jack could tell this wasn't going to end well for him, so he tried to hide behind his parents. Why do we need to talk in private? He said. Since my parents will stay here, we can just talk in front of them. It won't be a problem. Are you sure about that, Jack? Well, I don't mind discussing this in front of your parents if you don't. Go ahead, Mia, Jack said. Tell me what you want. You know what I'm going to say, Jack. Your parents won't be living here. I won't allow this. You didn't even consult me before inviting them over. How do you think this is okay? How dare you say that to my son? Irina snapped. This is his house, and he can do what he pleases. Yes, he doesn't need your permission to keep us here, Shane added. Know your place, Mia. You can't talk to our son like that. Be careful, or he might kick you out. Now stop being a spoiled brat and show us the biggest room. We can't wait any longer. Nah, I don't think I'll do that, Irina, I said. Irina and Shane were shocked by my audacity. I didn't know if I should be mad at them or Jack. Yes, they were entitled, But it was Jack's fault for lying and inviting them over. If he hadn't lied, we wouldn't be in this mess. Still, I couldn't ignore their threats to kick me out of my own house. What do you mean, Maya? Irina demanded. If you don't show us the room, Jack will. Our son promised us the biggest room. We left our apartment because of that. We came here today because Jack promised to take care of us. He invited us to stay in his new house, so we ended our lease early. Well, in that case, Irina and Shane, you've made a huge mistake. I don't think you can stay here at all, let alone get the biggest room. How dare you, Mia? We don't need your permission to stay here. My son will show us our room if you don't. This house is not yours, so you can't dictate whether we stay here or not, Irina retorted. You've got that wrong, Irina. I guess Jack hasn't told you yet. This house belongs to me, not him. So you won't be getting the biggest room. In fact, you'll have to do with the streets instead. What? That's impossible. Jack told us he bought this house. You're lying. Is that so? Then why don't you ask Jack and find out the truth? I'm sure he'll clear everything up. Damn right we will. Jack, tell your wife she's being a lying witch right now. Yeah, Jack, tell her you own the house. You said so yourself. Both Shane and Irina looked expectantly at Jack, hoping he would confirm their belief. Jack stared at his feet, saying nothing. Slowly, it dawned on his parents that I might be telling the truth. They were still incredulous, as they had believed I was a gold digger with a poor job, while their son was the hardworking, successful one. Jack, why aren't you saying anything? This house belongs to you, right? That's what you told us. Why are you being so quiet? Jack, tell her she can't kick us out. What will he say, guys? He's been lying to you all this time. I can even show you the property papers proving I am the sole owner of this house. That can't be true. You work a simple job and don't have a lot of money. My son has a huge income and can afford this house. There is no way this house is yours. Correction, Irina. Your son had a huge income. He also didn't tell you he was fired from his job a year ago. Since then, he's been living off my income. For your information, I have a very good job. Just because I don't show off doesn't mean I'm poor. Oh boy, you should have seen the expressions on Shane and Irina's faces when I revealed the truth. They were totally dumbstruck. Jack, as usual, continued to stare at the floor, refusing to meet his parents' eyes. Jack, is this true? Irina demanded. You said this house was yours. Jack remained silent until I said, Okay, that's enough drama for one day. Shane and Irina, I've entertained you long enough. It's time you take your things and leave. Mia, you can't just kick my parents out like that. They broke their lease to come stay with us. They have nowhere to go right now. You can't just put them on the streets, Jack protested. I can, and I will, Jack. They didn't consult me before making this decision, and you didn't think to take my input before assuring them a place in my asterisk house. Look, this might be your house, but I'm still your husband. If I say my parents will stay here, they will stay here. You can't kick them out. That's right. This is also my son's house. Everything that belongs to you also belongs to him, so you can't kick us out. Irina insisted. No, Irina, I can kick you out. And don't worry about Jack because he'll be kicked out too. Now, Jack, since you're still married to me, I'll make a nice eviction notice for you. And I'll make sure we won't stay married for long. What do you mean, Mia? Are you going to divorce me? Yes, Jack, I am. I'll call my lawyer tomorrow to set up an appointment. We'll serve you by next week. Jack panicked at the mention of divorce. He looked furious, acting as if I couldn't possibly go through with it. You can go ahead and divorce me, Mia, but if you do, I'll take half the house and claim alimony from you, he threatened. How do you plan to do that, Jack? Have you forgotten the prenup you and your parents made me sign? Do you want me to remind you what it said? Jack suddenly remembered the prenup, which clearly stated that neither of us could claim alimony, and our private assets would remain separate in case of a divorce. Back then, Jack and his parents had made me sign it to protect him, never imagining he would end up on the losing side. Their faith in his success blinded them to the potential twists of fate. Their demeanor changed instantly. We don't have to jump to a divorce right away. We can sit down and have an adult conversation about this, they said. Yes, Mia, let's calm down and talk this out. I'm sure we can arrive at a compromise that will be beneficial for everyone. I don't care what would be beneficial for you. I refuse to be the cash cow for you, Jack, and I refuse to let your parents take advantage of me after how badly they treated me. That was in the past, Mia. Many years have passed since then. I'm sure you can look past that now. It was a very minor issue. You and Irina just threatened to have me kicked out because I refused to house you. And that happened just a few minutes ago. No more excuses. You and Irina need to leave before I call the cops. I would prefer if Jack leaves as well, but if he needs an eviction notice, he will get that soon. Jack, Shane, and Irina started begging me to change my mind. Those two idiots had really ended their lease to move in with us. Jack thought he could convince me to play along like I had in the past. He had no idea I would stand up for myself and stop being a pushover. I was done being the family doormat. Not anymore. When Irina and Shane refused to leave after an hour, I called the cops. They came and escorted them out of the house. After Irina and Shane left, Jack screamed at me for humiliating his parents. I reminded him he had only a month to vacate my house. That made him switch his behavior to being apologetic and remorseful. The way this family changed their behavior gave me a headache. Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with them for long. From that night onwards, I didn't allow Jack into my room. He stayed in the guest room until it was time for him to leave. Yes, he was served with an eviction notice, so he had no choice. Meanwhile, his parents, after spending a huge chunk of their savings on a hotel, were forced to find a new place to rent. Surprisingly, they didn't allow Jack into their new place. Jack was left scrambling for accommodation, just like his parents. It seems their relationship has become strained. They blamed each other for their present condition, and now his parents refuse to support Jack anymore. Jack had to couch surf at his friends' places until he found a job. I filed for divorce. There was no way I was staying with him anymore. He disrespected me and revealed himself to be a vain and selfish man, nothing like the person I fell in love with. Jack tried his best to change my mind, but I was firm in my decision. I refused to be taken advantage of anymore. Since we didn't have kids, our divorce was finalized after 6 months of separation. In those 6 months, I rebuilt my life and started dating again. Surprisingly, Jack still hopes we can get back together, but that will remain a dream for him only.
And now it's time for the bride and groom to cut the cake, announced the NC. As I reached for the knife with my husband, someone grabbed my head from behind and smashed my face into the cake. I couldn't breathe, my face and upper body submerged in cream and sponge cake. Confused and struggling to get up, I fell on my butt, my face and my pure white wedding dress completely covered in cake. The banquet hall erupted into murmurs. I looked at my husband, and he was just as stunned. Then someone called out to me, "How unsightly. This is what happens when you don't listen to my advice." Standing there was a plump woman I had never seen before. Her face lit up with joy. "Excuse me, he's mine." "How dare you have a wedding so nauseatingly perfect?" Was she a guest? She was dressed formally, though huffing with anger. My groom, Nicholas, seemed to ponder for a moment before letting out a dry laugh. "A face full of cake, it's just a joke. Laugh it off, will you?" At that moment, I completely lost it. A woman ruining my once-in-a-lifetime wedding by smashing my face into a cake, and my husband trying to pass it off as a joke. I wouldn't forgive them. I'll show them. The wedding venue soon turned into a scene from hell. My name is Diana, 27 years old. Let me tell you about the major event that befell me, starting from my upbringing. I was born the only child to a company president father and a former model mother. I think it's fair to say I was born into a privileged family. My father was kind but strict, insisting that I needed to be able to survive on my own, so he made sure I focused on my studies. Thanks to my hard work from a young age, I got into a prestigious university and landed a job at a major corporation. I grew up to look just like my mother in her youth. People often said I should be a model, but I had no interest in that kind of work. A few years into my professional life, I faced some snide remarks about my looks initially, but worked hard not to be outdone by them. Eventually, I started to be recognized for my capabilities at work. I was beginning to feel a real sense of accomplishment in my work, but I didn't have a single boyfriend from my early 20s until I was 26. My friends would chuckle and say, "Diana, you seem like you're out of reach for most men. You seem normal once we talk to you, but maybe you're too intimidating for them. You don't show any vulnerabilities." However, I wasn't someone who prioritized romance, so not having a boyfriend didn't bother me much. I wasn't against the idea of marriage, but I was in no rush. Meanwhile, my parents seemed anxious about me not having a boyfriend. "Diana, you're beautiful, so you should get married to a good man before you get any older," my mother said with concern. I replied, "Mom, I want to marry someone who appreciates me for who I am. Plus, I'm busy with work right now." During this conversation, my father chimed in. "How about this, Diana? Want to meet a man I can introduce you to?" "An introduction by you, Dad?" "Yes, there's a young salesman who frequents our company who seems promising." "If you say so, Dad, I'll meet him." And that's how I was introduced to Nicholas, who would later become my fiancé. "Wow, you're so beautiful. It's so very nice to meet you," he said with a friendly smile as soon as we met. He had the bright and cheerful demeanor of a salesman, always carrying himself with confidence, a typical good-looking and pleasant young man. He approached me boldly, not intimidated at all. He was well-educated, worked at a reputable company, and seemed to have a good character. I found myself increasingly drawn to him and started dating him. We were praised as a handsome couple, and I was quite pleased with it. My parents warmly supported our relationship, especially my father, who was very happy about it. Nicholas took charge in planning our dates and surprised me with gifts on ordinary days, thoroughly doting on me. I was aware of his slightly cheeky side, but it was overshadowed by his many good qualities. I gradually came to cherish him deeply. On my birthday, after a year and a half of dating, he reserved a high-end restaurant. At the end of the meal, he nervously took out a small box. "Diana, I can't imagine life without you. Will you marry me?" "Nicholas, thank you. Of course I'll marry you." As I gazed at the ring in awe, he tenderly hugged me. At that moment, I felt the happiest I've ever been in my life. Next, we went to meet his parents. They warmly welcomed me into their home. "My, what a beautiful young lady. Are you really going to marry our Nicholas?" "Of course we're all for the marriage. Nicholas, take good care of Diana." On our way back, Nicholas said to me, "My parents are usually pretty strict with me, but they were really kind to you." "Really? Your parents didn't seem that way to me," I replied. "You think so? They were pretty tough on me when I was young. But I'm glad they like you, Diana. It makes sense, given how beautiful you are." "Stop it, you're making me blush," I said, laughing. A week after this conversation, it was time to introduce him to my parents. They were, of course, overjoyed. "Diana, I was worried you were clueless about love, but you finally met your prince," my mother said, her eyes brimming with tears. My father added, "Nicholas, if you marry Diana, I might even consider entrusting the company to you in the future." "Really?" "Yes, I've heard you're competent at work, and I have high hopes for a promising young man like you." Surrounded by blessings and expectations for our future, our wedding was set. We decided to live together after the ceremony and began preparing for it. When we visited a newly built wedding venue, a wedding planner named Barbara greeted us. "Diana and Nicholas, you're the perfect couple we're looking for. We'll offer a substantial discount on the wedding cost if you agree to be our showcase couple." "A showcase couple?" "Yes, we'd like to use your photos and videos for our company's PR. We'll provide the dress and jewelry as part of a sponsorship." "How does that sound?" "It's an offer we can't refuse." "Let's do it, Diana," Nicholas said. I nodded in agreement, so we decided to have our wedding as a showcase couple. Although we were engaged, he and I continued living separately, occasionally going on dates as before. He was often unreachable due to his busy work schedule, but I didn't mind too much. Time passed, and a week before the wedding, I noticed an anonymous letter in my mailbox. I opened it, feeling suspicious, and was shocked by its contents. A week later, there I was at the wedding venue, dressed in my wedding gown. "Diana, You look stunning, as expected, Barbara, the wedding planner, said cheerfully as she placed a sparkling piece of jewelry around my neck. Then the wedding ceremony began. Nicholas and I exchanged vows and rings in the chapel, watched by many friends, relatives, and colleagues from both our workplaces, including my father's company and Nicholas's company. There must have been over 200 people in attendance. Nicholas's boss led the toast, and the reception began. Our friends and colleagues came up to us one by one, saying, "You look so beautiful, congratulations." Then came the time for one of the highlights of the reception, the cake cutting. The moment for the cake cutting and the first bite, where we would feed each other cake, was upon us, and a crowd gathered around us to capture the moment. The moment a luxurious 3-tiered wedding cake, crafted by an artisan for our special day, was brought in. The MC announced, "Now it's time for the bride and groom to cut the cake." As Nicholas and I held the knife, ready to make the first cut, someone grabbed my head from behind and smashed my face into the cake. I couldn't breathe, my face and upper body buried in cream and sponge cake. Confused and struggling to get up, I ended up falling on my butt, my face and my pure white wedding dress completely covered in cake. The banquet hall was filled with murmurs. Looking at my husband, he was just as stunned. Then someone yelled at me, "How unsightly. This is what happens when you don't listen to my advice." There stood a plump woman I had never seen before, her face glowing with joy. "Nicholas belongs to me. How dare you have a wedding so nonchalantly?" Was she a guest? I wondered. Nicholas, trying to defuse the situation, said, a face full of cake, "It's just a joke. Laugh it off, will you?" At that moment, I completely lost it. A woman ruining my once-in-a-lifetime wedding by smashing my face into a cake, and my husband trying to pass it off as a joke. I wouldn't forgive them. I'll show them. Just as I was about to speak up, my mother's voice filled the wedding hall. "Stop this nonsense." She rushed over, helped me up, and glared at the woman. "What is this all about, Nicholas? Explain yourself right now." The woman, talking over my mother, shouted, "Shut up, old lady. It's all this woman's fault. I did nothing wrong." A colleague of Nicholas's quickly restrained the woman, who seemed to be trying to attack me. "Calm down, Somia," he said, holding her back as she glared at me fiercely. After wiping my face with a handkerchief my mother handed me, I finally spoke. "Nicholas, who is this woman? What's your relationship with her?" "That's Somia, a junior colleague at my company," he replied, his eyes clearly avoiding mine. I whispered to my mother to bring my bag from the dressing room. "Oh, a junior colleague, huh? Why would just a colleague do something like this?" "Well, that's because—" he began, but Sonia interrupted him, shouting, "Nicholas and I are in love. You have no right to be here." "Well, have you heard her?" "No, that's not true. She's my stalker. She's been claiming we're in a relationship and following me around. It's been a real nuisance," he shouted, pointing at Sonia. "What? What are you saying? We truly love each other." "Enough. Shut up. Security, please escort her out." At that moment, my mother returned. I took out a photograph from the bag she handed me and held it up. "Then what's this?" It was a photo of Nicholas sleeping in a hotel bed, clearly taken by a woman. "What is this, Nicholas?" Along with all the guests, he turned pale at the sight. I explained to everyone, "This was sent to me anonymously a week ago along with a letter." "Shall I read the letter?" "Don't marry Nicholas. He belongs to me. Back off, Somia. You sent this, right?" "Yes, that's right. You ignored my warnings." Nicholas panicked. "Deanna, you knew. Then why?" "I couldn't cancel the wedding just a week before. The guests were already invited. Besides, this wedding has special circumstances, remember." "Special circumstances? What are you talking about?" Somia asked, confused. The wedding planner, Barbara, intervened. "This wedding was part of a showcase project. We were going to use the footage for the venue's PR, with everything from attire to the planning sponsored by various companies." "A showcase? Sponsored?" Somia's eyes widened in shock. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sunk in. The once joyous occasion now marred by betrayal and deception. Sonia still didn't understand, and Barbara finally snapped. "Do you have any idea how many companies and staff were involved for this day? You've ruined it all, so be prepared for the consequences. Do you know how much this is going to cost in damages?" "Damages?" Sonia repeated, her face turning pale. A man then removed the jewelry from my neck, saying, This jewelry was loaned to us by our company. It seems to have been scratched during the commotion earlier. It's worth $100,000 and now it's damaged. $100,000? Of course, you'll be compensating for this, right? Sonia turned pale and dashed toward the exit, but was quickly restrained by security. I watched this unfold and then turned to Nicholas. Now it's your turn. Are you ready to face the consequences? Diana, I did have an affair, but it was just a moment of weakness, Nicholas stammered, his face white as a sheet. Why would you cheat on me with someone like that? Well, Diana, you're beautiful and perfect. It's like eating gourmet meals every day and suddenly wanting a hamburger. It was something like that. What? Before I could raise my voice further, my father stepped forward in front of Nicholas. You scoundrel, how dare you do this to my daughter? My father, with bloodshot eyes, grabbed Nicholas by the collar and glared at him. Sir, you have no right to call me sir. I'm severing all business ties with your company. I never want to see your face again. A chorus of gasps came from Nicholas's colleagues. It seemed that my father's company had significant dealings with Nicholas's, so their reaction was expected. Nicholas, thrown to the ground by my father, was then punched squarely on the head by his father. Dad, what are you doing? Shut up. Apologize to Diana and everyone else now. Trembling at his father's voice, Nicholas knelt down, pleading for forgiveness. Diana, please forgive me. I'll break it off with that woman and promise to be a good husband. That's when I threw the cream-covered handkerchief at him. How dare you? I will never forgive you. Our engagement is obviously over. Prepare for hell. With my mother by my side, I left the venue and my father announced the cancellation of the wedding. Later, Nicholas and I broke off our engagement and I received $30,000 in damages for his infidelity. Nicholas was, of course, responsible for paying the ruined wedding expenses. The venue pressed charges against Sonia and sought compensation for the damages, including the costs of the staff specially arranged for the dress and jewelry. Nicholas and Sonia were both demoted at their company and eventually resigned, unable to endure the scornful looks. Sonia ended up in significant debt, and Nicholas was disowned by his parents. I don't know what became of them, but they're likely living a miserable life. As for me, I managed to recover thanks to the encouragement of my parents and kind colleagues and friends. A year after that hellish wedding, a male colleague who had always liked me confessed his feelings, and now we are dating. I'm determined to learn from this experience and live a life full of effort until I find true happiness someday. Hi everyone, this is the story of my abusive mother-in-law and my useless husband who never bothered to protect me. I'll be using fake names to keep my identity private. Sharing my story is one thing, but dealing with real-life drama is another, and I don't want anyone to find me. So let's say my name is Peyton, my husband is Grant, and my mother-in-law is Joanne. There's also my grandma Lily, who was the sole reason I'm still alive today. Grant was a decent boyfriend, and I was completely in love with him, ready to marry him. When he proposed, I immediately said yes. But my life changed drastically after that. Grant started showing many red flags. I discovered that he and his mother were extremely close, and she essentially controlled him. Joanne began creating problems as soon as she moved in with us, mooching off her son. One day, she walked in with some papers and said, "Peyton, you need to come and sign these papers. The faster you do it, the better for you." What are those papers, Joanne? This is an ironclad prenup that you both need to sign. It says that in case of a divorce, neither of you can claim anything from the other. Sign it right now. Wait a minute, did you just make a prenup without consulting us? This is really humiliating, Joanne. Why would you do that? I did this so you can't take my son to the cleaners in case of a divorce. You earn way less than him, and this house is his. We cannot trust you enough to try and take everything from him. This is insane, Joanne. I am not some witch that you make me out to be. This is ridiculous. I won't sign a prenup just like that. I feel insulted. You should have talked to us about this. Actually, I know about the prenup. It's not a big deal, Peyton. If you're really not with me for money, you should have no problem signing this, Grant interjected. I was taken aback that Joanne and Grant had discussed this without telling me. No, I wasn't with Grant for money. I didn't earn much, but I had a substantial inheritance in store for me, which I hadn't told Grant about yet. We fought for days, and Joanne regularly insulted me for not signing the papers. Eventually, I went to my grandma for help. She listened to everything I said and then asked, "Honey, are you sure you want to marry this man? I don't think he's the right one for you. You two aren't even married yet, and he's already making plans with his mother to corner you." "It's just this one problem, Grandma. I really love Grant, and he loves me too. I can't imagine marrying someone else. He is a good man." "Well, if you've made up your mind, I would encourage you to sign the prenup. I'll send my lawyer to read through the terms, but I have a request. Never mention that your grandparents are millionaires. I don't want them to know. I haven't told them anything yet, Grandma, but why do you want me to say it? I understand things better than you, Peyton. You're seeing them with rose-tinted glasses. Your grandfather and I worked hard to build this fortune. I don't want anyone to take advantage of you and steal your money. Grandma, you don't have to worry about that. I won't tell them anything since you asked me not to. Besides, Grant is a good man, and he will never do that. If his mother becomes too much, I'm sure he'll protect his wife." I was wrong. Grant was a horrible man, and his mother was much worse than I knew. I gave in and signed the prenup, later realizing it was a wise decision. As soon as we got married, Joanne started to abuse me regularly. Even after signing the prenup, she verbally and sometimes physically abused me. I'm too ashamed to speak of most things she did, but I will mention one incident because it was the turning point in my marriage. One day, when I was home after work, Joanne stormed into my room with a smirk on her face. She handed me a big bag of clothes and demanded that I wash them. I didn't protest because I was used to this behavior. I knew that if I refused, she would tell Grant, and then the two would verbally abuse me. It was a routine, so I picked up the heavy bag, even though it was hard for me. As I was walking down the hall, Joanne tripped me, causing me to fall and hurt my ankle. I screamed in pain, but Joanne just laughed and walked away. After putting some ice on my ankle, I called Grant. "Grant, I fell and hurt my ankle. Your mother tripped me today. I've taken her abuse for a long time now. You need to do something. She's crossed the line." "Don't make up lies about Mom, Peyton. She would never do something like that. You just want her out of the house and don't want to do your chores. Stop lying and defaming my mom." "I'm not lying, Grant. Please believe me." "Don't waste my time, Peyton. Go back and do the chores my mom gave you. I don't want to hear another complaint from you." Grant hung up on me. He never stood up for me, always acting like I was in the wrong. I didn't say anything because I didn't want him to leave, but this time, I couldn't take it anymore. I just cracked. Secretly, I had been seeing a therapist with my grandma's help, but their abusive ways were becoming too much to handle. It was then that I knew I had to get out. Joanne even sent me nasty texts saying I deserved what she did and that Grant would never speak against her. I was furious and determined to seek revenge. Later, my grandma passed away. I was heartbroken but relieved she was no longer in pain. I stayed strong, thinking she had finally reunited with my granddad. Grant didn't help me at all during this time. He didn't even show up to the funeral, but he found out that I had inherited $250 million. Grant was shocked and started being extra nice to me. The next day, another surprise awaited me. Joanne was sitting at the foot of my bed, looking creepily sweet. "What are you doing here, Joanne? No one told me you were coming today. Why were you staring at me while I was sleeping?" "Oh, I came early to help you with the chores. I made you tea and it's right beside the bed. I know how much you love tea, so I ordered a special batch for you. You didn't answer why you were in my room while I was sleeping. It's creepy as hell. I was trying to massage your feet, Peyton. I know you hurt your ankle while carrying my laundry. Your feet must be sore, so I thought I could massage them for you. You literally tripped me that day, Joanne. How dare you show up and try to massage my feet? Don't you have any shame? Come on, don't be so dramatic. It was an honest mistake. I didn't know you'd fall or that the load was so heavy. I already massaged your foot to make up for it, didn't I? You think massaging my foot will make up for all the abuse? You're insane, Joanne. Get out of my room. I don't want to see your face right now. All right, I'll be in the kitchen making you breakfast. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll take care of it and make sure Grant has everything he needs. You take your time and freshen up." Joanne said that sweetly and left with a skip in her step. Her sudden change in attitude made my head spin. Even lying down, I felt like she had breached my privacy and was acting like a lunatic. Money can make people do crazy things, and Joanne was proof of that. Grant must have told her about my inheritance, prompting her visit and this sudden change of heart. But neither Grant nor Joanne knew that they wouldn't get their hands on my fortune. I had made sure of that. I got out of bed and dressed in my best clothes. It was my day of revenge, and I wanted to look my best. My therapy had been working well, and I finally had the confidence to stand up for myself. I went down to the kitchen with my bag, which held some important documents I needed to send out today. I guess you can tell what I was about to do. I found Grant and Joanne in the kitchen, looking very happy and whispering to each other. When they saw me, their smiles widened. Grant pulled out a chair for me while Joanne set about fixing me a plate. "Why did you make breakfast today? I could have done it myself. You didn't have to trouble yourself with it. Grant hates it when you do something in this house." "Nonsense, I'm happy to do this for you, Peyton. It's not a big deal," Joanne replied sweetly. "Yes, it's just breakfast. My mom can do this for you. You don't have to worry about any kind of work from now on. Once we sell the house and buy a mansion, I'll look for a housekeeper. Until then, my mother can handle all the chores. I'll help her out too. You think buying my medicines is a waste of money, but suddenly hiring a housekeeper is cheap for you? And how do you plan to buy a mansion? Been robbing banks lately? Don't be ridiculous. We have plenty of money now. You just got a huge inheritance from your grandmother," Grant said. Yes, Grant is right. Finally, we are millionaires. We don't have to worry about money anymore. Your inheritance will last us a lifetime. We can do whatever we want now, Joanne chimed in. Yeah, I've been thinking about quitting my job. I was getting burnt out anyway. Maybe we can take a vacation and have some fun, Grant added. I started to laugh loudly at what they said. I couldn't believe my ears. It had only been a day since I received my inheritance, and these two were already making plans, thinking I would just hand over the money and let them do whatever they wanted. One day of fake good behavior was supposed to wash away years of abuse from my husband and mother-in-law. Joanne and Grant looked uncomfortable with my laughter, trying to avoid my gaze. Maybe their own plans sounded ridiculous even to them, as they held on to the hope that I would magically forgive them. After laughing for a few seconds, I said, "My God, it's been one day since I got my inheritance, and look how drastically you've changed your tunes. Money does make a difference, doesn't it?" "Let's not dwell on the past now," Joan replied. "We had no idea you had such good luck coming your way. We would have treated you better if we knew." "Yeah, you shouldn't hide things from your husband and in-laws, Peyton. That was very sneaky of you. Anyway, what should we do with so much money? I was thinking of a house and a Caribbean vacation." "Don't just say house," Joan interjected. "Say mansion or villa. We can even opt for a penthouse. That would suit our status better. We are millionaires after all. All my friends will be so jealous of me." I listened to their banter and then casually took out the documents I had been hiding in my folder. Joanne and Grant looked expectantly at me, as if I was giving them papers that said all the money was theirs. But they were in for a shock. Holding the papers, I said, "I would like to correct you there, guys. We are not millionaires. I am a millionaire. The money is mine, and I got it as my inheritance. Yes, you did get the money, but we share everything. We are married after all. So you should be sharing your money with me," Grant said. "Yes, and as your mother-in-law and only surviving family right now, you should share the money with me as well. We are family after all. You are my daughter as much as Grant is my son," Joanne added. "It's ironic how I have suddenly become your daughter, Joanne. Until about yesterday, I was just the witch your son married. Anyway, you shouldn't get so carried away. We won't be family anymore, not that we were ever family." "What do you mean, Peyton? I'm your mother-in-law, so I am family," Joanne insisted. "How could you be my mother-in-law when I won't be married to your son anymore? If Grant loses his husband's title, you'll be less than nothing to me." "What is the meaning of this, Peyton? Why won't I be your husband anymore? What is going on?" Grant demanded. "Well, I have filed for divorce. I did it the day after my grandma died. I won't be staying with you anymore, Grant. You're a terrible husband and don't deserve to be one," I said, throwing the divorce papers on the table. Grant and Joanne both read the papers to check if I was speaking the truth. When they finished, their eyes shot up in disbelief, and they exchanged worried glances. I guess they didn't think I was capable of filing for divorce. "What is this, Peyton? Why have you filed for divorce? This doesn't make any sense," Grant stammered. "Do you think I'm weak enough to be stuck in an abusive marriage for the rest of my life?" "Why are you surprised, Grant? I told you this was coming. I told you the very day Joanne tripped me. My God, why are you still stuck in the past? I have apologized for it, and it has happened already. I can't change that. You need to be a little forgiving. This is not a big enough problem to warrant a divorce. Mom has already made amends for that, Grant said. So Joanne, you confessed to tripping me, and all you do is tell me to get over it? Get this into your heads. I am divorcing you, and you won't get a cent of my inheritance. I can't believe I fell in love with such a vile man like you, Grant. I'm ashamed I tried my best to impress a monster like you, Joanne, but this abuse ends now. We are definitely getting a divorce, and we can do this the simple way or the difficult way. Suddenly, Grant and Joanne looked very pissed at me. They didn't like that I called them out on their behavior. They knew I was serious since I had already filed for divorce. It wasn't a threat to make them do what I wanted. It was a reality they had to face, especially since I now had a lot of money. What's the use of divorcing me, Peyton? You have more money than me because your inheritance is our marital asset. I'll get half of it anyway, Grant said. You might get half, but most of it will be spent on the lawyer. Did you forget about the prenup you and your mother forced me to sign? I'm sure my dear mother-in-law can remind you of it. She was adamant we sign it, I replied. It suddenly dawned on them that they had screwed themselves over. They had no idea I would become a millionaire. They wanted to protect themselves because they knew no sane woman would stay with them after their abuse. The prenup was a way for them to abuse people without consequences. But this time, they just played themselves. They dug their own graves. The prenup was a long time ago. I'll talk to a lawyer and find out what we can do. We won't let you walk away with all that money, Grant stammered. Yeah, you're doing this to threaten us. You can't do anything to us, Peyton. We will take your money and do what we please with it, Joanne added. So I take it that you will try and fight me in court? I asked. Oh, don't worry, Peyton. We will make this hard for you. You can't just decide on your own. I'll fight you in court. You can't get divorced without my signature. Remember that, Grant threatened. Really, Grant? So you will intentionally make the process difficult for me? Well, that's not an issue. I'm prepared for everything. I have some ammo of my own, I said. What do you mean, Peyton? Joanne asked. Joanne, remember how you confessed to tripping me and abusing me in texts? Well, I will use them to file a report to the cops. That would be fun, wouldn't it? I said. No, you won't do that. You can't do that to me. I'll delete all the texts, Joanne panicked. Don't worry, Joanne. I have all the texts saved and sent to some of my friends. Trust me, I'm perfectly capable of reporting you to the police. In fact, I can also show how Grant knew and didn't do anything to protect me. It'll be a downhill battle for you in divorce court, I said. Joanne and Grant immediately started to hound me with apologies. They forgot that I had the power to put Joanne in jail. They thought I had let go of the incident, but I was just biding my time, waiting for the right moment. Joanne and Grant were in deep trouble, unsure of what to do. I took the divorce papers with me and left the house. I would collect my things the next day. Grant and Joanne tried to stop me, saying, "Don't walk away from us, Peyton. Let's sit and have a conversation about it. We can deal with the situation like adults and not make any rash decisions." Yeah, where will you go anyway? Let's talk about it, Grant added. I'm moving into my grandmother's house. It has already been transferred to my name. I will be living there and waiting for Grant to decide on the divorce. I'm taking the papers with me so that you can't damage them and make me file again. As for my things, I've taken pictures of everything. Don't even think about damaging or getting rid of anything, I warned. Grant and Joanne went on trying to stop me, but I had already called a friend who was waiting for me outside. I got into her car and drove off. Grant and Joanne stood at the door, staring at us the whole time. After arriving at my new place, I contacted a moving company and booked them to bring my things from the house. In the months that followed, Grant and Joanne did their best to try and change my mind. I kept reminding them about going to the cops. Grant did talk to a lawyer who told him in no uncertain terms that the prenup was solid and he had no way out. After being threatened by me multiple times, Grant was forced to sign the divorce papers. He didn't want his mom in jail after all, and he knew I would never give him a chance again. Grant and Joanne are currently not talking to each other. Wondering why? Well, Grant did not take the divorce well and started to blame Joanne for causing problems between us. He was sure that Joanne was the reason he missed out on being a millionaire. After countless fights, he ended up kicking her out with nothing. Since Joanne lived off Grant's money, she was left homeless and without funds. Last I heard, Joanne was in a homeless women's shelter with no idea what to do with herself. I made sure to inform everyone about what horrible people Joanna and Grant are, so they have been isolated from others. No one really talks to them anymore. As for me, I'm enjoying my new life and casually watching the aftermath. I still live at my grandmother's place since it holds sentimental value to me. From my inheritance, I have donated some money to women's help centers and plan on doing more for them. The rest of the money has been invested and secured for my future family. I still work at my old job since I don't want to sit idle. Life is good so far, and I'm hopeful I will meet someone who deserves me. Hello everyone, my name is Evelyn, and I'd like to share a story about how my mother-in-law, Rita, faced the consequences of her actions against me. The other key people in this story are my husband, Lucas, and Father Peter. They have given me permission to share this incident. This story revolves around the final, despicable act committed by my horrible mother-in-law, Rita. She was extremely abusive and manipulative. Lucas's father had died when he was young, leaving Lucas and Rita alone for a long time. Instead of finding a partner for herself, Rita relied heavily on Lucas for her emotional needs, clinging to him and chasing away all his girlfriends. You can probably imagine her reaction when Lucas told her he was marrying me. She went on a tirade and didn't even attend our wedding, thinking Lucas would cancel it if she didn't come. But that didn't happen, and when Lucas and I eloped, Rita was furious. She screamed at Lucas and caused all sorts of trouble. Despite Lucas's efforts, she never forgave him or acknowledged me. It was as if I didn't exist. She was even more upset when Lucas moved to my hometown for a great job opportunity, thinking I was taking her son away. For about a year, this drama continued until Rita surprised us by calling Lucas. "Lucas, I was thinking about visiting you. I haven't seen your new place, and I'm curious. Maybe I can also try to build a relationship with Evelyn," she said. "Mom, that's great news. You can come over anytime. We have plenty of space. Evelyn and I will be happy to have you here, right, Evelyn?" Lucas responded enthusiastically. "If you really want to mend bridges, we would be happy to have you," I replied. Lucas had been missing his mom, and I wanted to support him, even though I had my doubts. From the moment Rita stepped into our house, my suspicions were confirmed. She monopolized Lucas's time and wouldn't let him sit near me. She barged into our room at night to chat, even banging on the door if it was locked. Despite claiming she wanted to build a relationship with me, she barely spoke to me. Things came to a head when we took Rita to a restaurant for dinner and drinks, hoping to make her feel welcome. After we ordered, Rita said, "I think you should check on our order. The city is horrible, and the people here are so unprofessional. I don't trust them to make the drinks correctly. What does Evelyn's dad even do here? He must be a Walmart employee or something. I don't know how people can survive in these places." "Mom, that's very disrespectful. You can't say things like that. The city is great, maybe even better than our hometown." "You're being rude again," Lucas reprimanded her. "It's all right, Lucas. You don't have to stop her. She's entitled to her opinions. Rita, you can check the drinks. But I assure you the staff here are very professional and well-trained," I interjected. "I didn't ask you, Evelyn. You need to stop inserting yourself where you're not wanted. Learn to shut up sometimes," Rita snapped and walked toward the bar. This incident was the tipping point, confirming my fears about Rita's behavior and making it clear that she hadn't changed. Lucas looked extremely embarrassed and apologized for his mother's behavior. I told him we would discuss it later. As Rita walked away, Lucas got distracted by his phone, but I kept an eye on her. I saw her whisper something to the waiter and place an item on the tray before quickly returning to her seat. The waiter appeared dumbfounded, then glanced at me. I nodded, indicating that I had seen everything. Maintaining a neutral expression, the waiter brought our drinks. He served Lucas and Rita, then paused before handing me mine. Hey boss, here is your drink, but I didn't make it according to your mother-in-law's instructions. I don't think you would have approved." Lucas looked confused. "Evelyn, why is he calling you boss? What's going on?" "Oh, I guess I forgot to mention Rita. My father, the man you think has no money, owns this restaurant, and I co-own it with him. So the staff call me boss." Rita immediately turned pale and started to shake. Lucas, noticing her worried expression, sensed something was wrong. What is going on, Mom? Why did our server say you told him to do something to Evelyn's drink? Rita stammered. Oh, it's nothing. He must have misunderstood me. I only changed my drink, nothing else. He must be confused. I interjected. Really? I'm curious to know what he misunderstood. Waiter, why don't you tell us what happened? Lucas and I are very confused. The waiter explained. Mrs. Rita here tried to make me put this substance in your drink. She tipped me $1,500 to do it and walked away before I could refuse. You know, boss, we don't do things like that. Not even for money. Mom, what the hell is he saying? Did you really do this? You better tell me the truth, Lucas demanded. Rita, panicking, replied, I don't know what the waiter is talking about, Lucas. I did no such thing. This is all a setup. Evelyn must have orchestrated this to make me look bad. It's her fault. Wait, now you're blaming Evelyn? This isn't making you look very good, Mom. I'm getting more suspicious. You better tell me the truth. Lucas, how could you suspect your own mother? Your wife is purposely turning you against me. Trust me, this is all a ploy to separate us. She's already winning. I'm telling you the truth, Rita pleaded. Really, Rita? If you're so innocent, let's check the security footage. It would make things easier, wouldn't it? No one will have to assume anything, I suggested. That's a great idea, Evelyn. I'm sure you have free access to the CCTV footage here. Let's look at it and find out what happened. Then we will know who is telling the truth, Lucas agreed. At the mention of checking the footage, Rita paled even more. She started to act desperate and couldn't control her tears. Why do we need to check the footage? Don't you believe me, Lucas? I am your mother. You can't just accuse me of doing something like this. I'm not accusing you of anything, Mom. Your behavior has been very strange. It's not sitting well with me. Besides, we all need to know who is lying. Trust me, if you are innocent, I'll make sure the people who disrespected you pay. There is no need for that, Lucas. I forgive them for doing this. I'm a forgiving person. We don't have to get into this CCTV business anymore. Let's just go home, Rita tried to deflect. Calm down, Rita. We will go home once we know what's on the CCTV footage. It's only fair that we know the truth, Lucas insisted. Rita tried her best to convince us not to check the security footage, but none of us listened. I excused myself to visit my dad privately under the pretext of talking about the footage. Inside his office, I said, Dad, you need to pull up the CCTV footage from the bar. Rita tried to mess with my drink. The waiter told us everything, and now Lucas insists we check the footage. Wow, that would be interesting to watch. What does Rita say about this? My dad asked. She doesn't want us to check the footage, of course. She's afraid of being found out. The waiter had warned me about her plans. What she did is not okay. I literally want to throttle her for trying to hurt my precious daughter. You should be more angry about this, Evelyn. Trust me, Dad, I'm pretty mad, but I'm keeping my cool. I have big plans for Rita. There is no way I will let her go easily, and I will need your help to teach her a lesson. My dad seemed very eager to know what I had in mind. After I told him everything, a look of delight and mischief spread across his face. He was furious at Rita for trying to harm me, but he was also pleased with my plan. He pulled up the security footage and I brought Lucas and Rita to the office. Dad played the footage, revealing Rita handing the waiter a packet and tipping him money, clearly pointing to my drink. The room fell silent for a few moments. Lucas looked ready to explode with anger, while Rita appeared like a deer caught in headlights. Even my father was glaring at her with intense displeasure. I remained calm and neutral. Lucas finally broke the silence. Mom, what is the meaning of this footage? So you were lying about not having anything to do with this. Rita, visibly shaken, realized she had been caught red-handed. She turned on the waterworks, clutching Lucas's jacket and crying pathetically. It was almost amusing to see a grown woman trying to manipulate her way out of trouble by crying, but I held back my laughter. Mom, how dare you try to hurt my wife? Is this why you've been in contact with us? I really thought you were ready to change. Now I see you just wanted to hurt Evelyn and create a rift in our relationship, Lucas said, his voice full of anger and disappointment. Lucas, you have to listen to me. You're misunderstanding me. I didn't mean to harm her. I just wanted to spike her drink so she'd get too drunk. I wanted Evelyn to embarrass herself and pass out sooner, Rita tried to explain. Are you kidding me? You tried to drug my wife's drink. Are you insane, Mom? What is wrong with you? Lucas was incredulous. It was a harmless substance, Lucas. I just wanted to spend some time with you alone. After your marriage, you've chosen your wife over me, and I hated it. I just wanted you to pay more attention to me, Rita continued, desperate. So, to get me out of the picture, you decided drugging me was the best idea. What kind of cheap crime thriller have you been reading? I snapped. Shut up, Evelyn. You have no right to speak between me and my son. This is why I wanted you out of Lucas's life. You've ruined everything, Rita spat venomously. Mom, how can you say that? Evelyn is my wife and has every right to speak on this matter. She is the victim here, not you. You are the one who ruined everything. I don't think we can come back from this. Stay away from me and Evelyn. We want nothing to do with you anymore. Don't try coming by the house. If you do anything stupid, there will be consequences, Lucas warned. Rita started to panic even more, sobbing and still defending herself. Despite everything, she blamed me for her actions. Lucas had had enough of her nonsense and continued to berate her. She finally addressed me directly, her voice filled with hatred. You witch. I will never forgive you for this. I will destroy you. Just you wait. No one can take my son from me and walk away without consequences. I will ruin your life. Oh really, Rita? You have the audacity to still stand here and threaten my daughter in front of me? What will you do about it, Peter? Throw me out of the restaurant? Do it and I will still find a way to get back at you, she challenged. You think I will just throw you out of my restaurant? Absolutely not. You tried to drug my daughter and bribe my waiter. I'm reporting you to the police, my dad declared firmly. No, you can't do that. You can't call the cops on me. You can't get me arrested. Rita screamed, panic-stricken. Yes, he can, Rita. We have solid evidence of you bribing a waiter to tamper with my drink and drugs. The cops will have a field day with you. You'll be going to jail, I stated calmly. Rita was in shock, while Lucas remained impassive, fully supporting me. My dad had already called the cops, who had just arrived and entered through the back door. Seeing them, Rita became hysterical. She grabbed Lucas and pleaded, Lucas, are you going to stand there and do nothing? Your witch wife and father-in-law have called the cops on your own mom. You need to do something and save me. Why would I do that, Mom? They haven't done anything wrong. If I were in their place, I would have done the same thing. What you did was despicable. You literally committed multiple serious crimes, Lucas replied coldly. Today, do you really want to see your mother in jail, Lucas? Will you be happy to see me get arrested? What about my reputation? Rita cried out desperately. You destroyed your own reputation when you committed a crime to harass my wife. Yes, I would be happy to see you in jail. It looks like there's no other way to make sure you learn your lesson. You think I didn't notice how you kept blaming Evelyn for your actions? I'm not a weak husband who won't defend his wife just to appease his mother. I don't care if you get arrested. I won't bail you out or help you with anything. Be prepared for a restraining order as well, Lucas replied, his voice firm and resolute. Rita turned pale and started to shake, her eyes wide with fear. She looked at the cops who were taking our statements and watching the video. Then they swiftly walked up to her and cuffed her. Rita kicked and screamed, trying to make a scene, but thankfully, the noise of the restaurant music drowned her out. The cops dragged her away, promising to update us about the situation. After the cops left, Lucas broke down in tears. Years of frustration with his mother and her toxic ways finally overwhelmed him. He started to apologize, sobbing into his hands. I'm so sorry, Evelyn. I'm a horrible husband. I left my mother close enough to try and hurt you. She almost jeopardized Peter's business by bringing drugs here. I'll never forgive myself for this. I don't even think I can show my face to you guys. That is nonsense, Lucas, I said, my voice steady. You did what any son would do. You simply wanted your mother and wife to get along. You had no way of knowing that Rita would go this far. Trust me, none of us are mad at you. Right, Dad? You are right, Evelyn, my dad chimed in. Lucas, you need to stop blaming yourself for someone else's mistakes. You are a good man and nothing like your mother. I just want you to let Rita suffer the consequences of her actions. I don't want her to try and hurt my daughter again. Can you promise that? Yes, Peter, I promise, Lucas said, his voice firm. I will not interfere with the case in any way. I will allow you two to handle it on your own. After what Mom has done, There is no way I'm helping her out or allowing her back into our lives. What I said a few minutes ago is true. I am going to file for a restraining order against Rita. I've had enough of her. She is not coming near Evelyn again. Lucas's words sent me over the moon. I was falling in love with him all over again. He reminded me why I married him and truly wanted him to be my husband. His display of this shiny spine made all his trouble totally worth it. I could also tell my dad became even more impressed with Lucas. It was a total win-win for all three of us. Rita's life quickly fell apart. First, she had a hard time getting out of jail. She had some money, but with legal fees and all, she couldn't meet the bail amount. It also didn't help that her job fired her as soon as the news of her arrest spread. She was found guilty on multiple charges and was sentenced to 8 months in prison. Rita was also made to pay a hefty fine for her crimes. What broke her the most was that her own son testified against her. Lucas outlined her previous issues with me and established a motive for tampering with my drink. Rita listened to her son and cried like a banshee as the judge gave her a harsh speech and sent her to prison. While the case was ongoing, Lucas and I filed for a restraining order. My dad also joined in and filed for a restraining order, wanting to be safe in case Rita tried to vandalize or attack him after she got out of prison. Thankfully, the judge granted us the restraining orders. It also helped that my dad's office had a CCTV camera that recorded her threats, which was presented as evidence in the other cases against her. The whole incident brought me, Lucas, and my dad even closer than before. Lucas ended up sharing a lot of his childhood trauma with us. My dad and I convinced him to join therapy, and he agreed on our insistence. So far, he is doing great, and we are actually having a good life right now. As for Rita, it looks like she is going to be far away from us for a while. If she tries to show up again, she'll be promptly thrown back into prison.